Oh God, my camera's not working.
What a great start to the show. He'll be back in a minute, I'm sure. There he is. Oh, Matteo, your camera's still not working, bud. And now we can't hear him either. He'll leave and come back, I'm sure. It's a disaster.
Looks like you're kicking off, Lee.
I'm kicking it off. Welcome to an edition of Monday Night Huddle. Matteo's having a bit of an issue with his camera, so I'm sure he's going to be throwing that across the room. Not swearing at the same time because we don't swear on this show.
Yeah, we don't. Oh my God! Would you Adam and Eve at the worst time for that to happen? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you, mate.
You just can't see you.
Right, give me 1 second. There we go. I couldn't appraise this technology any better the other day, and then kicked me out.
Back.
Yeah, sorry about that, gents. Well, welcome to Monday Night Huddle. If Lee's already done this, I do not apologise whatsoever. We are trying our best on limited resources. This week we have the legends from Bristol Aztecs with us. We've got Pete and we've got Elliot. Gentlemen, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Good. So lots been going on, but we want to talk about you guys first. But before we do that, let's get to know you guys. So, Pete, I'm a Bronco. Lee he's an Eagles fan. No one. Pete, Elliot, who are your teams?
49ers.
For NFL,
Yeah.
the New York Giants. I can say that with some respect. Now we got some guys, you know.
Yeah. Okay. How did you get into football? By football, American football. How did you get into it?
For me, it was at university down in Plymouth. There was a guy on my course who played, and he kind of spoke to me a little bit about it. And then some of the guys were recruiting on campus. That was back in '99, and started playing it. Fell in love with it. Haven't left since.
Brilliant. Elliot?
I was born into it, molded by it, as Bain says. My old man played back in the day for the London Ravens back in Britball when it kicked off in 1982, I think it was. And then he went on to play in college, University of Akron in America. And then he played for London Monarchs in the first year of the World League in 91. And I was born in 93. And yeah, I was just born into it. My dad's been involved with football on and off until recently for longer stints for a long time. So I got into it from the day I was born. Didn't start playing until I was a little bit older. And that's how I got into it.
Brilliant. So last season was phenomenal. Talk us through it. Like, what happened last year? What made everything work so well?
I think, to some extent, it was a bit of a culmination of like a lot of work we've put in over a lot of years. Engaging with all the local university programs and, trying to build a bit of a game day sort of event, getting a venue, and gradually kind of recruiting players and getting better. And we've just kind of been stacking sort of decent seasons on top of decent seasons. Yeah. And it's been sort of slow, steady, sort of sustainable progress. And, coming into it last year, like the absolute focus was to try and win the Britball. But we don't talk about that all the time. We're kind of like week to week, we take a game at a time, and I think we got a relatively nuts and bolts approach to it. We want play as many games as we can, which has resulted in, you know, some sort of fixture congestion. And, you know, last year I think we played 7 games in 9 weeks, you know, and we want to play good teams. You know, we played in the CEFL last year because we wanted to play against some really good European teams, and we got to do that. You know, Karlstad are like a legit team. And we had a good game against Amsterdam as well. So, you know, we're just trying to kind of get better, play against better opposition whenever we can. And, you know, to some extent, you know, excusing the cliche, the kind of results will take care of themselves when you coach your guys up, give them a good experience, give them good exposure, playing against good teams, and then they will kind of get better, you know?
Okay. Elliot, anything on that?
I didn't show up until about October, so can't tell you really. I watched every. I live in America, so I live in Boise in Idaho in America. But I actually watched every single stream game last year at a different time in the morning, and got a chance to watch it. So I can't give you much context on it necessarily what happened last season, but it was fun to watch, at least from a fan's perspective, you know.
Interesting question for you then. Obviously, you're over in the States. What made you want to do this role then? You know, and what are your aims? For the club.
So, for context, for anyone that is watching, I played at Boise State for 5 years. I played for the Bristol Aztecs youth team before that, before I moved out here in 2012. The main motivation really is the game back home hasn't progressed significantly. Like, people think it has because it's become more popular, and I'm just telling you guys for a fact, like, it really hasn't. Not to the extent that it should do for how long it's been played. And there's been a lot of guys that have come and gone in and out of Britball, that some have actually played in the NFL, some have done college, and they haven't really done anything meaningful to really sustainably help grow the game back home. And that may be a call out, but it is true. And I just see an opportunity for me to bring my experience playing, you know, high-level NCAA football and the business experience I've learned here to be able to come back and help progress the game as a whole. I was bitching and moaning about how the game hadn't really progressed over the years, watching my dad be involved with the Aztecs, and I was like, all right, time to put my money where my mouth is at. Let's see what I can do to help out. So really, it's, you know, we need to see the game progress, and also it's fun. I mean, it's football, isn't it? It's fun. When you get to work on something like this, it's fun, first and foremost, you know. But aim-wise is, you know, bring as much of a, I'm careful how I say this because it's an amateur sport, but bring a level of professionalism to the game at our highest level that hasn't existed at least in many decades, if ever. That's the main goal, is to make the Aztecs the model for that, and then share that information where we can with our counterparts to help grow the domestic league, not necessarily to help grow the continental leagues. We've got to try and take care of, you know, what we have here. So yeah.
Fantastic response. Lee, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying, Elliot, on that front. You know, I'm obviously historically I've been with the Cambridgeshire Cats for a number of years, and you know, I was on the coaching staff last year. I've now stepped away to focus my efforts on sort of building the youth aspect of it for us. But you know, there's obviously, everybody's got that dream of making, you know, their team successful, and you know, it's a business as such. I know we shouldn't really use that term because it's a club, it's not a business, but you know,
it's a business now, mate. It's a business now, mate. Trust me.
It is business for you, absolutely. But you know, for someone like the Cambridgeshire Cats, where we're a community sort of led sort of team, you know, we're looking at, you know, the Aztecs on what they've done this past year, obviously with yourselves at the helm, and you know, it's looking great. You know, it really is. You know, the expansion on Butts Park and stuff. But yeah, we want to see more of that within BAFA, I think, and you know, to have investments obviously from yourself. You know, it'd be great to have those sort of investments for the Cats as well. But interesting question from Coach Ross, who's obviously the head coach of the Cats. There is your aim to progress into the Europe on a permanent basis?
I'm so glad that I didn't ask that question, by the way. I just
it depends. It depends. I mean, Pete and I share the same type of opinion on this. It really depends. It's about sustainability, really, Pete, isn't it? It's like it's that we've always said the goal 1A is that BAFA continues to progress to where that doesn't need to happen. Like we have a domestic league at home which can provide a high level of football and commercialization that makes money. But it would be out the question maybe down the line. But that's not the number one goal, I don't think, Pete. Right? It's just to kind of take it year by year, really.
The way I see it, right, we've got a big enough country with enough people. You know, there's 4 NFL games a year. There's the NFL Academy. You know, there's so much going on. Like Bucks football is huge for recruitment, right? And there's nothing like that even in Germany. And you know, German youth football's in a just way better situation than youth football over here. But I'd be interested to know if there's as many kids playing youth football in Germany as there is playing Bucks football in this country. Maybe it's more, but there's so much going for this country, and there's absolutely an opportunity to have a really, really good domestic league. You look at the kind of the EFL, EFA, AFLE, whatever it's called this week. You look at those competitions, and I don't really think any of those teams are generating enough sustainable income to cover the costs of traveling around Europe for games. You know, there's teams that are very well supported by benefactors, but there's not a lot sustainable about it. And I looked at European football, right, and I think there's probably only a handful of teams that are operating sustainably. And the one that kind of jumps out as being the most obvious model of a good example is the Dresden Monarchs. You know, they're regularly getting thousands to their home games. They're playing in a domestic league where they get to all their away games on a coach. They're not flying and having 2 nights, you know, staying over in hotels and stuff. And it's probably a really good sustainable model. And they're getting, you know, thousands of fans in, not tens of thousands. And I think it's entirely feasible that we could have 5 or 6 teams in this country getting 3, 4, 5,000 people to games in a really good competitive top league. And I think that would be a really kind of admirable aim. And I think it's feasible, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. In my job, I encounter loads of different people all the time, and when we get into the subject of American football, I explain that, you know, I've played. They're like, there's a league around here, and that's not just like a few people. It's the majority of people who don't know, who follow American football, don't even know there's a league around there. Don't know they could go watch a local team or, you know, local teams. So no, yeah. Great statements there, gents. I just want to go on to this season. So you've just announced a recruitment of a player. Let me load this up, see if this works. Gents, do any of you want to introduce him? Let us know a bit about him.
Yeah, so Ezzy, he started playing up at university in Leicester, and then Dan Mayer, who's the UE Bullets head coach, kind of got to know Ezzy and recruited him back to play for UE to finish off his undergrad. So I think he played 2 years at Leicester and then 1 at UE. You know, great job for Dan recruiting him. But he's a Bristol kid. You know, he's grown up in Bristol.
Okay.
And then he went out to Canada, played some CJFL, ended up playing for the Montreal Alouettes for a season, and then came back home, went out to Rockall and played in the ELF for a year, and has now come back to UE to do his master's degree. So, you know, great job by Dan and those guys getting him in to do that. And it's just meant he's back home playing football in Bristol. And, you know, we spoke to where he's keen to sort of get a job and pursue his career. He's got a full-time job now. We're here, wants to represent his hometown team. And, you know, it's great from our perspective, yeah. His little brother went to the NFL Academy and plays for Pitt now, so he's playing Division 1 college football. The thing that's frustrating from my perspective is that both those guys, yeah, they're both Bristol kids, born and bred in Bristol. One of them's playing at Pitt. One of them's already played for the Montreal Alouettes. And until we've signed Ezzy now, neither of them have had anything to do with the Aztecs, you know. And obviously, to some extent, with youth football and youth development, we've taken a step back because, as Elliot's pointed out, you know, 15 years ago, he played Aztecs youth and then went out to Boise State. And then some of those next generation kids have had to go elsewhere or do other things to get into football. So that's something we're trying to fix with the youth team now. But, you know, the more Bristolian kids we got on the team, the better. And to have one who's who we haven't developed at all, who's played in the CFL, move back home, yeah, it's a huge ad, you know.
Okay. Lee, I'll let you read this out.
Yeah, so as the expansion on things stands, down to you guys, or is it always the plan? I take it that's with the rugby club Was that led by them, or was that led by you guys?
Led by us. They had ideas that I think want to maybe add over time. They're in a fight for relegation right now, though, in their league. So I think they're trying to be diligent with how they, spend their funds. But no, that was all us. When I came into this from a commercial perspective, American football is just such a unique viewing sport. You really can't watch it standing up. I mean, 3.5 hours. It's not a family friendly event when you've got to take your kids or just anyone having a beer standing up for 3.5 hours. We were limited because we only have 208 seats. Although the grandstand's really nice, the rest is all general admission standing. So we made a commitment that we're going to have to bring in more seating. So we'll have temporary stands in there that will increase the capacity by 1,257 exactly, and that will allow us to have people seated, which is just an important part of it. So we were the ones that led the push, and it's financially on us to sustain that for this season. So
brilliant. That's amazing.
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
Let's say you're a player on the way back to Bristol, like that gentleman you just mentioned. What's the best way for them to contact the club or to get in touch with playing?
Yeah, if
running out of jerseys, aren't we, Pete?
Sorry, yeah, we are running out of jerseys. Yeah, there's if you go on the Instagram or Facebook, there's a link to fill in a sort of player interest form, and there's guys just coming through there every few days. But we're like we are pretty full. We've got sort of like 90 odd guys sort of registered with the team, and yeah, we've got a big squad. We've got a lot of players, but there is we're planning on playing. I think it's 15 rather than 16 games this year now. So yeah, there's a lot of football there, right? And I think times have changed a little bit. Like back in the day when I started playing, there was loads of guys playing both ways, and people just like play hurt, beat themselves up, and then go to work on a Monday morning. And I guess like the sort of the ethics around sport and injuries and all that stuff has changed a little bit. And I used to. Not that long ago, like in the last 10 years, I used to love a running back having 35 carries in a game. Whereas now I'm kind of like, don't really want anyone getting more than 15 touches because, we're trying to kind of look after guys and, kind of be sort of diligent and look after them and, spread the ball around a little bit as well. And so, we've got a big squad. It's very full, but we intend to try and use as many of those guys as we can,
Okay. This leads me on to my next point. Your season. You have a crazy big season, if or when it goes your way. So let's just load up your fixtures. One moment. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games before you get to the playoffs. And if you win the playoffs and you get to the final and win the final, that is 15 games. That is a hell of a lot. What's the plan for the what's the aim for the season? I suppose what's the plan? You're in Europe. What's the aim?
Hey, we're going to win the Britball again, and we're going to win the CFL. That's the aim, right? And you look at that fixture list, right? We got 27 defensive linemen, right? And we could have 20 games, and it still wouldn't be enough for most of them. We've got a lot of players. They're all super keen to play. There's guys working super hard because they know that there's a limited number of reps. And I don't think there's a guy on the team who wouldn't play 20 games if they were available.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And, there's lots of folks in Britball that they talk about football and they want to do this and they want to do that. And then you say to them, okay, you've got 5 games in a row. And everyone's like, no, don't want to do that. Our medical situation's like really good. We got a great physio, and he's got some help, and he's really good, and we're really diligent. We look after the guys. They get treatment at practice, and if someone's got like a tweak, we can rest them up because we've got the squad depth and size. And I think guys know that we kind of try our best to look after them, which they appreciate. And Tom, our physio, he's really good at like diagnosing like the little niggles and the ones that aren't a problem that can be managed. And there's a few times where he's kind of pulled someone out and been like, yeah, you need to go easy on them for a few weeks because that could get worse quickly. And so we've taken like a preventive approach with injuries, and it's really helped us, So there is a lot of games. We'd take more if we could get them. But it's important to have the squad size and depth and to look after the guys,
Okay. Lee, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, talking from the Cats, you obviously brought out the incentive for travelling teams coming down to Bristol with the sort of £1,000 contribution towards sort of their travels down to you guys. How did that come about? Whose idea did that who thought of that idea?
Yeah, it was mainly me, to be honest with you. The idea is really it helps maybe offset some of those equipment costs, because the idea is it's only going to those teams that actually are able to field a team with matching equipment, which is a really low standard, and it really is a low standard for the Premiership. We're supposed to be like the premier, embodiment of what football is in this country. And it's just one of those things to say, hey, look, we're making a little bit of revenue this year, or trying to make a little bit of revenue. How can we spread that in a way that meaningfully improves the quality of the game? Because it doesn't look great when you got guys running around wearing pink, green, yellow, blue helmets. Like, I know that that's become the standard to an extent in the UK, but it's not
I've
really
never
a
been
commercially
targeted
viable.
so much in my life. I've never been
I'm
targeted so much in my life.
coming right for you, mate. Yeah,
I am going. Go on.
It's hard to get sponsors, for example, to buy into a product and say it's somewhat commercial when it doesn't look professional. And looking professional, yeah, it costs a little bit of money to do that. So it's our way of saying, all right, if you guys show up and you look like you're supposed to be there and you look the part, here's some money to kind of help offset that. And until BAFA, maybe step up and say, hey, here are the minimum equipment standards on that stuff, we're trying to take it into our own hands to an extent. We're not forcing anyone, but we're saying, hey, if you do it, here's a way for us to help you out.
I mean, I'm a massive fan of it. I really am a massive fan of it. It's with especially from Cambridge down to Bristol, that travel cost is a huge chunk, and it normally comes out of the players' pockets. So for you guys to cover that and give, essentially you're putting them money into our club. So yeah, for me it's great to see. So hats off to you guys.
I want to go through your fixtures this season. I want to just give us some info on not info, thoughts on the opponents. So London Blitz. Let's what are you thinking of them this season?
Yeah, they're a good team, and they're always good. And even a couple of years ago they kind of had a down year and a bunch of players left and went to the Warriors. But the guys that were there are still like scrapped, and they got a good youth program. There's a bunch of decent universities on the doorstep, and obviously they've still got like a big catchment area. And they're a really good team. Loads of athletes. Heath, their head coach, like he's clearly a great coach. Like what he did last year, like that's a big kind of turnaround versus the previous year. So fair play to them. And we've got like a real kind of, we've got between the whistles, a relatively vicious rivalry with them, but it's pretty kind of collaborative, like off the field. Obviously we're the only two teams that have kind of like only two clubs that have a second team. And yeah, I think us and them, there's kind of quite a few things that we kind of see similarly. But they'll be really, really good. We have a short preseason. Our first practice is this Saturday, and yeah, it's a short preseason. Arguably now the toughest game of the season domestically away at the Blitz. We're getting week 1, and we've recruited really well. But not taking those guys for granted at all. That's going to be a really tough game, and we're going to have to be real sort of clean and precise in our preseason to make sure we go up there and get the win.
You've then got Belfast Trojans. That's going to be quite a tricky game. What have you ever played these before, like in previous years?
No, we've not played them, and from a business and organization point of view, I think they're probably better than maybe any of the teams in Britball. Like, we've had some dealings with their management, and I think, we might have closed the gap on them as a business a little bit in the last few months, but they're doing a lot of really good stuff. They've got a American import running back. They've got an ELF coach from the Paris Musketeers who comes and works with them for their season, because their domestic season starts a little bit earlier. They've got a really good business over there. They've got a good team. They've been kind of they've been at the ceiling in terms of Irish football for a couple of years now, and they're super keen to kind of progress and kick on. And yeah, I think it'll be a good game. It'll be a good event, and really looking forward to clashing heads with them between the whistles, as it were, but having a beer after.
Is that game home or away?
That's a home game, yeah.
Have you got? Do you think that one potentially sell out that game, or?
I mean, we've already sold a decent amount of tickets for it. We've got a bunch of marketing initiatives. One for Elliot, maybe. But yeah, we're aiming to try and sell it out. Yeah.
And in terms of marketing and that, what have you been doing for marketing? How can people get tickets? I mean, it looks like you've got a great bunch of games at home. How can people get tickets for that?
Yeah, so the best way to get tickets is just going to the website. So goaztecs.co.uk. So goaztecs.co.uk. They're available on there. My business is a real estate and marketing business. So fortunately, a lot of the resources I have with my business day to day are being used double-endedly with the Aztecs to help out as well. So we have a lot of paid advertising that will start launching in the next probably 2 weeks, just pushing ticket sales. We have a whole new web page that's developed, social media involvement too, and a decent budget to push behind that. Our whole goal is to sell out the first game, and to average, if we can average 2,000 fans a game for every home game, that's a win for us. And we think it's very viable. We do have we have a healthy budget for Britball to be able to get this in front of people. So yeah.
I really, and I'm sure leaders as well, I really hope you guys can do that, because that would be phenomenal for Britball and the sport, and more importantly for yourselves. You've got the Caesars. Is that a scrimmage friendly or?
No, that's a full game. So obviously we kind of got wind of the fact that the Warriors might be pulling out of the league, and so like straight away I was on the fixtures list for Prem North to see who we could have a cross conference game with. The Titans and the Coventry Phoenix are playing each other that day, so I was like, okay, let's speak to East Kilbride and Nottingham and see who can kind of make it work. And Nottingham could, and we're keen. So yeah, so they're going to come down, and with everything we're putting into the home game events, we've got Cheers Mate there streaming, we've got a stadium announcer, we've got a commentator for the stream, we've got so much stuff arranged for the home games that we couldn't just park a game and lose it at this short notice. So it's kind of imperative to get another opponent in, and appreciate the Caesars coming down to do that. And great opportunity again for us to get the depth some game time, because we've got a bunch of guys that will be keen to prove that they can contribute. In all likelihood, they might not get it week one against the Blitz. They may not get it in the CFL. So that's a game early in the season where there's nothing on the line really. It's not a sort of
show us what you can do,
a league fixture, and so there's going to be an opportunity there for a load of guys to play and stuff. You know what I mean? So that's really positive.
I think a few of your players are putting on their discount code for 10% off the tickets. If I post one, I'm going to have to post them all. So I can't, gents, but I'd be doing the exact same.
Right. We got little competition internally going on. So there's a little giveaway for the person who gets the most tickets passed out. So yeah, those are my boys. Greener, I'm a little bit partial to Greener because we played together back in the day, and he's still kicking on at almost 50 years old somehow. So.
Do you know what we? I think in every division there's one of them players. There was a player last year who just retired, John Wise. I think he's with Baffa now, and he could still run at some pace at his age.
Greener's only 36 or 37, I think. But yeah, I was just checking. Yeah, John.
Yeah. You played with John.
I played with John at Plymouth Admirals 2001.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was at a club and everyone left, so it was just people trying to run it, and they were not their rivals but the local team, and he helped me. Like he didn't have to; he could have just let the ship sink, and he was like, "No, here's what to do to patch up that area and stuff." He was absolutely brilliant.
Great guy.
Greener said, I'm 36, you cheeky. Yes, we can't post any more on that because we're a PG friendly product. Right, going back to it. You've got Wembley Stallions, and you've got Wembley Stallions. Are they in your? Who was it got promoted?
It was the Stallions got promoted.
Yeah, they beat the Hearts Cheetahs, didn't they, in the promotion relegation game?
So it'll be interesting to see how they do this season. Then you've potentially got the quarterfinal. I'm having good feelings, so I think you're going to be there. And then Rushmore Knights. I'm
Yeah,
hearing
so-
really good things about them at the moment in terms of recruitment.
Yeah, so we skimmed over the CFL quarterfinal there. So if we beat Belfast at home, we already know we will be at the Warsaw Eagles.
Oh, okay.
And they beat Swabish Hall last year, who are obviously like a bit of a GFL powerhouse, and
Yep.
they beat the Stockholm Mean Machine both away from home. And going back to what Elliot was saying earlier about how British football hasn't really moved on, I think the Polish league only started in like 2010 or something,
And
2015.
Yeah.
And already they've got a team playing in European competition, beating the Swabish Hall Unicorns and the Stockholm Mean Machine on the road. So
Yeah.
you look at how quickly they've kind of not only closed that gap, but probably overtaken us to some extent. You know, the Rockwell Panthers have been in the ALF for a few years. So yeah, that'll be a great game to go over there, play them. They're gonna be really good. So that's gonna be a really good game. And then yeah, the week after, like you say, Rushmore, and they're definitely doing things the right way, building up links with all the university programs, making sure they've got a good size of squad, and obviously they're in. You know, it's a good division, and they've been able to play the Blitz twice every year, and the Warriors twice every year, and us twice every year, and the Cats twice every year. So if you can keep your numbers up and keep getting exposure to some decent football, you'll kind of kick on, you know.
Okay. And then the last team, but by no means least, because he will chin me. You've got the Cambridgeshire Cats.
Yeah, Cambridge Cat, and you know, I think Nige, Elliot's dad, he knows Russ Begbie, and obviously Russ has been around for years, and you know, we've played the Cats quite a few times on and off over the years, and yeah, they're a good organisation. They're trying to grow, and again, like another team that we're like pretty collaborative with. You know, Gary, their GM, was really interested in Dings and how it worked, and you know, I spoke to him quite a lot about that, and yeah, you know, the Cats, they always pull in a few useful American players from the local bases. I guess those guys are probably all busy at the moment, but yeah. So yeah, you know, another good game though, you know.
Yeah, that's a bit of a sensitive subject.
Go on.
I'm waiting to see Iran just parachute down from me any minute over here in Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, a lot of our players are actually they work in the hospital on base, so they've got no sort of urgent requirement to get out sort of to the Middle East. So yeah, I mean, it's a sensitive sort of time. I mean, we did have a pre-season sort of scrimmage with Northants Knights booked in for next weekend. That's obviously been scrapped. It was supposed to be on Lakenheath, RAF Lakenheath, but we're now holding it at our new home ground at Shelford Rugby Club. And like you say, you know, Gary was quite keen in trying to get information on, you know, how we can get the 4G pitch marked up. Unfortunately, we've not been able to get on the 4G pitch. The RFU are a bit stubborn on that one, but we're going to work on them over the next few years to try and get onto that pitch. But yeah, hopefully.
Good luck. I got some tips for you on that. Good luck. Takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're willing to hear it because it's you know they as you probably know they can be quite stubborn on that one. But
when I first started playing, I played for the Halton Spartans, and our home games were at Widnes Viking Stadium. And at me being completely oblivious, I just assumed every other team played in like a rugby stadium or something. Oh, I got the shock of my life my first few away games. The shock of my life.
Yeah,
gents, I do a thing called 30 seconds, and it's never actually 30 seconds. So what's going to happen is we're going to say some team names. Pete, you go first. Then
Yeah.
Elliot, you go after him, and we just say the first thing.
We can't swear. Yeah, we can't swear.
You can't swear. Someone swore last week, and it was a Canadian. So there was a Deadpool of what country was going to fit, you know, and Canada was the first answer, so they won. But please do your best not to swear.
It's like a word association thing.
Yes, but I have found an app that bleeps out a swear word, but it's meant to be a PG-friendly product, and we're doing pretty well so far.
Okay.
Well, I know what team you're going to ask, and there's only one word for them. I know what you're going to ask.
Wait, I haven't got there yet. I haven't got there yet.
I know what you brought us on for, big fella.
No. We haven't even got there yet. Don't worry. 1 second. Right. So, 3, 2, 1. Go. London Blitz. Did everyone hear me then?
Rob Hardy.
Yeah, we heard you,
Yeah.
mate.
Rob Hardy, player of ours who left in winter.
Finsbury.
Okay. Wembley Stallions.
Warren Smart.
No clue.
Okay. Cambridgeshire Cats.
Ross Begbie.
Ross Begbie, legend.
I'm just trying names. Is that right? Yeah.
Silver Fox.
Baffer.
British football. Britball.
Trying their best.
London Warriors.
Kev Keohane.
Scared.
Okay. We'll chat about it very briefly. It wasn't the reason we brought you on. We want to get through every team. That's happened. They're going to play in that league. We announced it a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on it personally, and maybe from a club standpoint?
I mean, like to aspire to go and do that, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, if they do it, it will give a bunch of like, you know, young football players in London the opportunity to play at that level.
Mm-hmm.
That they wouldn't otherwise. You know, there's obviously some really good British players that will get signed by various of these teams in Europe, but there will be, you know, maybe 30 guys on the roster that wouldn't get an opportunity to play that level of football that will get to do it in Britain. That's fantastic. You've got to respect the commitment to try and get it done, because if they do, it'll be amazing. In terms of like timescales and, you know, kind of letting the other teams in the league down, like pretty frustrating the notice at which it was all done. But, you know, every year there's teams drop out of BAFA, right? Like, you know, whether it's because they haven't got enough players or they're going to play in, like, you know, it's unfortunate and it's a kind of state of the game thing overall, you know? So that would kind of be my view.
Elliot?
Yeah, I think if it pans out, it's probably a good thing for football players in the UK for the most part. The ambition to want to do more is always great. Like you can't ever knock anyone for wanting to do more. I think it's just disappointing that obviously now that's one less game we have to play. It's one less premium team to make the actual British domestic product better. And I don't think it's been done in the most business savvy way, to be quite frank with you. Leaving us high and dry last minute to figure it out isn't great. And it seems like from the little they do share of what we do know, it's not exactly the most stable situation. So yeah, I don't know. You hope it works out, because if it doesn't work out, it's bad. You know what I mean? There's no positive from it not really working out. It's just the way it's happened, the time scale, it's just disappointing to say the least. And that's me keeping it PG, to be quite frank with you. The difference is, and we don't want to high horse it, the difference is between what they're doing and what we're doing. What they want to do is very much, all right, well, it takes care of the Warriors. What we're trying to do is take care of us, but also take care of Britball in the process too. And that's the key difference, I think, when we look at the different angles on this, you know?
Yeah. It's one of them, because I asked you before, and, you know, Baffer, and I think, Elliot, you said doing the best. And we've actually invited Baffer to come onto this, and we've had a positive response. And we are hoping that they take the invitation, whether it's a pre-recorded show or a live show. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see it all happening and how quick it is happening. But on a different note, moving on from it, we are expecting 2 teams to be promoted to your league this year. And I thought both of your responses there were absolutely spot on. Lee, have you got anything else on it before we move on?
I think, you know, I think Pete's obviously mentioned it. You know, it's great for the the UK to have a team in Europe. I think obviously the way that they have gone about this is you know, the short notice, the doing it, you know, after the sort of the league's been structured is not really fair for the other teams left in that league. But the opportunity is good. You know, there is for those who wanted to pursue a career in Europe, but couldn't really commit to moving out of the UK to pursue that career. I think for those kind of people, the opportunity is going to be really good. Obviously, the opposite side of that is there's going to be a sort of I think there's going to be a lot of people leaving the Warriors who know they're not going to probably get any game time, and they're going to be flocking to the other London teams around. We've already seen some players being signed to the Exiles, some going to the Stallions, and I'm sure there's going to be other teams that are going to profit from them players coming to them.
I don't think that's kind of unique to this situation of the Warriors going to that league, though. Like any team that's improving and getting better, it will happen to. And one of the sort of key drivers of instability in like Britball teams is the promotion and relegation thing. And all the time you see teams go down, and then a bunch of guys that don't want to play in the division below leave, and then a bunch of guys that do want to play in that division come back. Team gets promoted again, and those guys that have come back because they want to play in Div 2 don't want to play in Div 1. And so that whole promotion relegation thing just, creates problems. We're in a fortunate situation in that we've got the Apache and we've got us. They're in Division 1, and there's probably enough players on both teams that we could have a third team in Bristol and have a Prem, a Div 1, and a Div 2 team. There's not quite enough people to run the club and quite enough coaches. But yeah, the promotion relegation thing causes problems,
Elliot, I think you want to say something there. Go on, mate.
Yeah, it's obviously most people know the American system, and obviously I live here, so I see it every day, and I've been a part of it to an extent. There isn't really a viable minor league for the NFL. They have the XFL or UFL or whatever it is they call it. It folds every other year, essentially, every couple of years. There's the NFL, which is the premier. There's the NCAA, which is almost like your feeder, and then there's high school, and that's it. There are no other sub-leagues, no promotion relegation. The NFL, if you take that as the extreme model, the NFL is locked. Like, they might add an expansion team every 15 to 20 plus years, right? But they do that deliberately because it becomes commercially sustainable. When you have movement up and down, it doesn't make things sustainable. It makes players jump from place to place, and it means that there's a spreading of the talent pool, which isn't good. In my personal opinion, for what it's worth, I think they should lock the leagues, like lock the levels, and there should be minimum standards, and you can only essentially go up, if that makes sense, instead of trying to bring people down. So if you're bringing them up, there's a level of commercial viability, money in the bank, youth pipeline, whatever it happens to be, so you don't have this bouncing up and down. The NFL don't do it. The NCAA do it in a limited capacity of like division with FBS, FCS, and Division 2, but that happens over decades of preparing, not year to year. It's just silly. Like football, soccer, that system works because there's an abundance of talent available, and it's something that's just been done historically that way. Football is not that type of sport. It needs to be sustainable by pushing up, not by doing this back and forth. It's ridiculous, in my personal opinion, and not sustainable.
So, would you say if you were running the show, you'd have a Prem North, Prem South, or just a Prem, and then a league below it, and that would be it?
Ring fence, national Prem.
National Prem. Just have one national. Yeah. Your national Prem, just one. It's the UK, whatever you want to call it, or Britain, between the three different countries, and there's one elite league, and everyone's trying to work, well, to an extent, trying to work towards that, and we protect that at all costs to keep that tier as high as possible, so it becomes a viable product.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really interesting thought, and I was at a club that folded. Holton Spartans. I wasn't there while it folded, but the amount of work some people have done to try and get that club back up and running. They were at a stadium. They had great sponsors. They got promoted, and then COVID happened. For me, COVID killed the team off. But it is very frustrating on my seeing teams folding constantly. And they're not set up right. You are right with a lot of them. They're not set up right. The things in place and stuff like that. So no, it's an interesting one, gents. We are coming to the end of it, so I do really want to thank you both for coming on. We learn from doing this, as well as learning about you guys, and the views that you have brought on today have been absolutely spot on. So yeah, thank you, Lee. You got any more on that?
Yeah, I just wanted one more question in there. Really, it was just where do you see the Aztecs in the next 5 years?
Well, we did a vivid vision thing we put together, which is something Elliot's done through work and stuff. And it's as much about, or arguably more about, growing the business, because the kind of the football team is almost like the tail that follows the business, And whilst we are a football team, and that's our kind of primary sort of aim, is to sort of put good football on the field, like it has to be part of the business. And for us, like, we want to be playing a really good level of football that's as professional as possible, but it needs to be self-sustainable. And I think we're taking a sort of common sense approach to it by trying to build a fan base and build the business whilst improving the football product as well. And it's very hard to say where we'll be in 5 years when you look at the current kind of volatility in the European leagues, and even in BAF. There was 12 Premiership teams in the UK sort of 2 months ago, and now there's 10. That's a huge drop off. Do you know what I mean?
It's an interesting comment there. So with the Warriors leaving and potentially not making it to the AFLE, and with the London Guard next year, the Warriors would have likely folded anyways.
I mean, like, there's no doubt in my mind that there is not demand for 2 professional football teams in London. And like, maybe the Warriors go in the AFLE this year, and if they still push ahead with the London Guard thing, like, might they both fail next year? Might the Warriors fail and the Guard survive? Might the London Guard start and then fail and the Warriors survive? Like, who knows? Like, it's just like, there's just a lot of risk and volatility there. You know what I mean? And there's teams all over Europe, like, that aren't sure they've got a league because they were in the ELF last year, and no one still knows what's happening, and it's kicking off in 6-8 weeks. In BAFA, we've got a guaranteed league. BAFA are doing really well. The sponsorship with Nike, the Union Jack Classic thing. There's a lot of development and progress going on, and I'd much rather kind of just try and push things over here and develop the game in the UK. And you look at the progress we've made in BAFA in the last year. BAFA's looking a lot more stable, a lot more progressive, and a much better option than looking into Europe at the moment.
Okay,
absolutely.
Elliot, you got anything else to say about it? Or?
Yeah, it's just the timing of everything is a shame. I grew up with this. I grew up in football. My dad was at the very beginning of European football, like from day one. And in the mid 80s, we went through this massive surge in popularity, and then things got greedy and oversaturated, and there was multiple leagues, and player talent spread, money mismanaged, and it kind of fizzled out. And rugby actually just kind of soared past it when rugby became professional. There was a point in time, people don't remember, there was a point in time where top tier American football was comparable to what rugby was back in the day. And I kind of get this feeling like we're about to repeat history again, with this oversaturation and a lot of people getting in the way, their egos getting in the way of making smart decisions. This should be a time where we kind of consolidate and collaborate, and instead we're spreading it and kind of pushing things out. And there's a lot of uncertainty in those continental leagues. I feel really good about, personally, like, I can't, in my personal opinion, separate from the club or the team or BAFA, I actually feel really good about where we're at with BAFA. I think it's going to be a decent year. It's sustainable. We take care of ourselves, and like Pete was saying, the business is the horse that pulls the trailer of whatever league you end up in. That's what we're focusing on. I personally don't have a whole lot of confidence in sustainability of any of these other massive continental leagues. You got people falling out left, right, and centre, and I feel good about where we're at for this year, personally.
Okay. Well, gents, thank you very much for coming on the show. This has been a pleasure. Good luck for the season. And if I can, I will try and get down to a home game. Lee, you can take me out on a night out the night before. Candlelit dinner, all that. But gents, good luck with the rest of the season, folks. We are live every Monday now up until the season. Catch us on Spotify, catch us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. This has been the Audible, and Lee, you're gonna have to start it from the top, mate, because you're all the way up at the top.
I'm at the top. I've been Lee.
I've been Pete.
I've been Elliot.
And I've been Matteo. Thank you very much, folks. We will see you next week on the finally, because he's been messaging. He's our #1 fan by the looks of it. Up the Aztecs from Greener, the legend. You take
Cheers,
care,
fellas.
folks.
Thank you.
We will see you